In the market town of Highfield, color lived on cloth. Every lane fluttered with dyed banners. Every home had a loom. Among the weavers, Annika was young but already skilled. Her tapestries glowed with sunrise oranges and river blues. Yet recently her hands stalled. She'd sell a piece and feel nothing. Begin a new one and doubt everything. What's the point? She whispered to the empty workshop. Just threads, just weeks, just coins. Her grandmother, Sarah, who had woven before dyes had names, watched with eyes that missed little. One morning she took Annika's hand. Walk with me. They followed the canal past dye houses that smelled of indigo, past bakeries that breathed cinnamon, past the square where children invented games out of air. Sarah led Annika to the Pilgrims' Hall, a low building with wide tables and a roof of stained glass that spilled colored light. Once, Sarah said, this town nearly forgot itself. The harvest failed twice, people left. Those who stayed were hungry and hollow. A few weavers began to work together here, not for coin but for used blankets for babies, shrouds for elders, coats for men mending roads. They found purpose again by tying their threads to other lives. Annika traced a groove in the table where a shuttle had struck long ago. I weave alone, she said quietly. Perhaps that's why the cloth feels lonely. Sarah smiled, not unkindly. Lonely cloth is decorative. Needed cloth is alive. They returned home. Sarah opened a cedar chest and lifted out a faded tapestry, a map of Highfield from decades past. Roads snaked like vines. The canal glittered in stitched silver. In one corner, embroidered words read, Keep the thread. What does it mean? Annika asked. That you don't have to carry the whole story, Sarah replied. Just keep the thread that's yours and tie it well. The next day, Annika did something she had never done. She asked the midwife what the birthing house needed. Warmth, came the answer. Winter's bite. She asked the schoolmaster what the youngest students lacked. Patches, he said wryly, showing elbows worn white. She asked the mason repairing the canal wall. Shade, he grunted, wiping his brow. The sun keeps finding me. Annika drew a list and pinned it to her loom. Then she began weaving not for display but for purpose. Thick wool blankets tight enough to hold heat. Soft caps for newborns with ties that wouldn't chafe. Aprons that wouldn't mind stains. A long, light awning dyed with indigo to make the mason a patch of sky he could carry. Something loosened inside her. Each piece felt like a sentence in a letter she'd finally learned to write. Word spread that Annika's workshop had changed. People brought stories with their orders. A fisher whose hands cracked each winter. A widow who wanted her late husband's shirts turned into a quilt. A child who needed a cape like a hero but not too heavy. Annika listened, sketched, measured, and tied her thread to theirs. One afternoon a traveling minstrel wandered in. He wore a cloak more holes than cloth, patched in 50 colors by 50 hands. I can't pay, he admitted, but I can sing your work into the next town. Annika laughed and offered tea. Sing then, she said, and stitched a simple, sturdy cloak the color of rain-soaked stone. He left humming a tune about a weaver who wove usefulness and found meaning. Weeks later, a caravan arrived earlier than usual. The minstrel had sung well. Orders filled the wall. Annika didn't feel overwhelmed. She felt woven back into the town. But not everything was easy. A merchant demanded a wall hanging to impress guests. Gold thread heavy and empty. Annika nearly accepted gold-bought dyes but paused. She thought of Sarah's words, keep the thread. She counteroffered, I'll weave a banner for the grain store, bright, brave, and yours to sponsor. The merchant frowned, then realized his name stitched under a gift to the town would impress better than a private glitter. He agreed. The banner lifted in the square within a week, sunlight making it shout. One evening, Sarah came to the workshop and watched Annika tie off a warp. Your cloth feels different, she said. It is, Annika replied. I stopped asking, is this good enough to sell? And started asking, who will this help to live? Sarah nodded. You found the secret that keeps weavers weaving when coins are thin. Purpose. At the next festival, Highfield hung not just the prettiest tapestries but the truest. The midwife's house wore blankets like blessings. The children ran in patched sleeves that looked like small flags. The mason worked beneath a blue awning stitched with clouds. Someone asked Annika for a speech. She shook her head and put up a sign instead. Bring me a story. I'll bring you cloth, Moral: meaning grows when our gifts serve someone beyond ourselves. Purpose turns skill into belonging.